Welcome to the Right Now Writers Group, meeting number 7. If you need motivation, inspiration, or strategy to just help you get and make it through your story week by week, then come join us. In this meeting segment, this live stream, I invite other writers from the community as we work together and we have a real virtual writers group. What do we do in writers groups? We talk about things that are writing, we talk about our stories, and we use it as a way to check in with ourselves week by week. So that way, when we're not feeling motivated or when we're maybe struggling with the story device, we're like, you know what? I got that writers group meeting every week. So come join us as we figure out what writing shenanigans we will get into this week. So, and by the way, I'm Kauffman. Welcome to the Right Now community. I'm on a mission to show and help the unpublished writers of the world write that first book by making the entire process easy and maybe a little bit of fun. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to bring up my friends. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, friends. We always have a revolving mix of other writers joining us out of these meetings. Out of our 7th session so far, if you guys want to do just a quick little intro about yourself, who are you? What do you write? I'll pass it to you first, Crazy. You got the crazy vibe here.
All right, fair enough. Well, Crazy Root Beer here, and so far I've just recently gotten done with the 4th book. I know it's fast, but I realized probably about a couple days ago they're actually just short stories, not novellas like I thought, but they're short stories. All of them are because I recounted all the word counting of each page and stuff, and for this book, we're not going with the introducing a new vampire, werewolves, aliens, or angels and demons. We're just kind of, for once, going with just humans. We're just going to have a little bit of a drama book, maybe. Don't know how it's going to go, but hopefully I might get it done probably in about a week or so. Don't know. Kind of taking a break from writing.
Good expectations for the week. Get this story done. I like it.
Yeah. I'm already on the 3rd chapter, but I'm kind of taking a break from writing, but not too much, because if I take a break of anything completely, it takes me years to even get back to it. So I went to just 1 chapter a day, and then the rest I just do life.
Well, I totally resonate with that. I'm sure writers in our community too. For most of us who are balancing other competing priorities, while also trying to find the time to write. Yeah. So absolutely. Thank you for sharing, my man.
Mm-hmm.
I totally feel that too. So hello, I am Holly, fur mom extraordinaire. This is my fur child, Astrid.
Holly and Astrid. I didn't know we were getting 2 writing members from your crew, Holly.
Yes.
Right on time.
So I'm I will be working on the sequel to my debut novel. I just hit the 33,000 word mark yesterday. I'm trying to finish in the middle of September. But my debut novel is A Diamond Bright and Broken, which is releasing November 5th this year. And it's a tangled retelling with a female Flynn writer. There's disability rep, sapphic romance, unique magic, and POC characters. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can check out my book and get cool character art cards if you pre-order. And then I'm also the host of the Diversity is Lit book club, where we read 1 book by a BIPOC author every month and discuss it on my YouTube channel. There's still time in August because I'm only 50 pages in and our discussion isn't until September 8th. But for August, we are reading It Waits in the Forest by Sarah Dass. It's a
really great cover,
Rick Riordan presents, and we've read a few of those and they're really good. And then for September, what we will be reading is Tender Beasts by Lizelle Sambury. She is also an author tuber and traditionally published. So excited to read that.
Oh, well, Holly, thank you for sharing. I am randomly curious. How many times have you said the book blurb spiel? so far?
Oh yes, I have said it many a time because I've learned that I freeze like a deer in the headlights, and so and then like there's a lot of like my publisher will tag me in threads where people's like,
Mhm.
hey, I want to support your like I want to support indie authors, and I'm
Mhm.
in a part of a small press, so they're like including small press, like tell me about your book. So I've like learned to like give a very short like these are some of the themes and the
Like
rep.
this is the
Here's
canned
like the one line
response.
blurb, and like hopefully that describes my book well.
I've been thinking through that because I know as I'm like working through Last Scarecrow, and then whenever I get somebody new onto the stream, they're like, "Well, what's your book about?" And I'm like, "All right, well, I've said this like 100 times, and I know I'm developing it. Probably gonna say it 1,000 times by the time before it gets published." So that's just something that was like on my mind. But
cool
thanks for
to
sharing.
see.
You got a lot coming up.
Yeah, it's cool to see like what people respond to. Just be like,
Mhm.
like if you share tropes, be like, oh, which ones do you jump out at you, and then that can help you kind of build your little spiel.
Yay! And then we'll pass it to our infamous chat soul.
I swear I'm never gonna live this down now.
Nope.
So yeah, basically I'm going by chat soul now. As usual, I've been working on my fan fictions. I'm in my last week of school. I actually graduate in a week from tomorrow. So after I graduate, I will not have homework anymore, and I will actually be able to start really getting into my writing again, and maybe I will finish the East Blue arc. I know people have really been waiting for that story, but I swear to God, I can't write from Usopp's point of view.
Oh, how fun!
But no, tonight I'll be working on my Lunarian fan fiction again. I haven't really touched it this week because I'm doing like a resume career kind of stuff for school. So, but no, tonight I'm making myself work on this next chapter.
We can do it. I think we're going to get some good work done today. I believe in us. I feel totally unmotivated when I started today's stream. So I just like try to use all of your inspiration, and I'm like, all right, I'll get super motivated today.
You can do it.
Yes. Woo! I hype myself up. Or I have zero energy. I hype myself up.
You got this.
Oh man. Well, thank you all for sharing. I'm glad to have you here. Let me hop into the chat and welcome My Bad. Sadly, I took my work break too early to participate, but I hope you have a great stream. Don't worry, we got you covered. I will call this the replay. Will be available to watch after the stream. So definitely come join us, and I'll be here tomorrow. We are all doing miscellaneous writing things. We're all around. Hey, what's up, ML? Welcome to the stream. Courtney thought I was going to have to miss today and was sad, but looky here. I got done with life early. And then what is better than finishing up adulting to come play with a bunch of writers? Who doesn't love that, right? And then Marcella, welcome, my friend. Glad to have you here. And it looks like we have a great call out to your shirt over there, Holly.
Yes.
Looks like everybody, since we're near fall, people start thinking pumpkin spice.
Mm-hmm.
Having worked at Starbucks for 10 years, I know pumpkin spice very, very well. Right? That's like pumpkin spice is like the fall thing.
Yes.
I don't know if Starbucks started pumpkin spice. They might have before the market took it.
That's a good question.
I don't know. It might have been Starbucks. It could have been, most likely it's probably a local coffee shop somewhere, and then Starbucks just popularized it. And now every chain does it, but who knows?
Yes.
Hey, what's up, LeMay? Welcome, my friend. Excellent. Are we all ready for the fall? So as I was kind of thinking today, like we actually have a really interesting mix-up. So there's been a question on my mind that I want to ask because I know Holly and I was gonna start saying chat soul, like Holly and Soul, both of you are published authors, and when I say published, you both have a book or have a book that's with a release date. Crazy, you and myself, I know we're working on getting our stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys consider to be what do you guys consider to be an author? This has kind of been something I've been thinking about as I've been thinking about my brand. Do you only consider an author to be somebody who has a physical book that has been released, or is it a mindset? Is it a lifestyle? I'm kind of curious. I throw this question to the group because it's been on my mind.
Yeah, for one, I'm going to say I love the deep question with that. I know personally.
We're going deep today.
Yes.
Kauffman procrastinates, so he's going to go with deep questions.
I love it.
I know personally for myself, I consider myself an author for 2 reasons. One, well, I have a book published finally.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, I have that kind of mindset where I'm always thinking about my book. I'm always thinking about my stories. I'm always thinking about what I'm going to do next, what I'm doing now. What did I do previously that worked, that didn't work? I literally never stop thinking about writing. It is a constant for me. I mean, yeah, my word count definitely accounts to that, but it goes beyond that for myself.
Interesting. So then, do we mark the consideration of or do we consider an author somebody who thinks about writing and the process all the time? That's interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, I that's a really good question to ask. I think, like, for me, in my mind, when I would like call myself something, like I would call myself a writer, and then I didn't feel like I could call myself an author until I had something published or like the release date. But then you got me thinking, well, like, what if someone just like publishes it for themselves, like they are sharing the books with their family, and they like, but like it's not like widespread where people can get it. Like they should be considered, I don't know, I feel like should kind of be considered an author, even if they're not sharing it with other people. So
That's
maybe
a really good point. I didn't think about it from the sharing aspect.
Yeah, but maybe
That's
it's like maybe it's like how refined that book is. Like, is it ready for other people to read? Whereas like a first draft is like, but calling yourself an author with like a first draft, I don't know, versus a ninth draft, like,
this is interesting, right? So then is an author defined by the number of drafts of a book that's out, right? Because what if an author, or what if a writer has 20 different projects, all in varying degrees of drafts? They've been writing their entire life. Does that make them an author? Or does that make them a writer or an enthusiast? I'm curious. I might have to throw this question on socials too. I'm kind of curious to see what the communities think.
Yeah.
That would be really neat to see what everyone else says.
Yeah, because I feel like that if they have written some books in various stages of drafts, I don't know.
Then I think
then they could be an author.
Yeah, I think I'm going to throw this up as a poll question, actually.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Crazy, where do you fall on this?
Well, I kind of agree with, and I'm very sorry if I get the name wrong. I'm bad with names. Marcella, I believe, saying that an author is someone who has successfully published at least one book, whether traditionally or independently. I definitely agree with that. And I wouldn't say that I consider myself a writer, because for my mind, it's like, what the heck even is one, in my case. And for publishing, it doesn't really have to be like a actual physical book. It can be a physical book and also online and stuff, and you can still call yourself an author after you've published at least one book and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, because that was the mindset that I was coming at before, as throughout these past couple months, as I've been thinking about the community, and I've been thinking about how do I keep delivering on the value for what writers are coming here for. The number one trend that I see is that I see a lot of unpublished writers working on getting their first stuff out, either their first workout or getting their couple first ones. Yeah. And it then made me question, does an author count as somebody? Are you only an author if you publish something? But Holly, you brought up a good point with sharing, right? So what if I am a writer and I have a finished, completed manuscript, but I don't want to share it with the world? I write for myself. Does that make me less of an author because I don't publish it? And I think that's actually a very interesting question and very interesting debate. My philosophy so far, and this is, it could be right, it could be wrong, I'm not sure yet, but I believe what an author is less about what you've written or what you've done. It's less about the achievement. And I think being an author is a mindset or a way of life. I think if you consider yourself an author and you're being proactive about your writing journey, you're an author. I think if you consider yourself an author and you write once a year, debatable. Sure, debatable. I think consistency is part of it.
Yeah.
So I think my challenge, or I think the duality between an author constitutes somebody who has the mindset, somebody who has who has that mindset, kind of similar to what Sol was saying, where it's kind of always on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's balanced with a writing consistency that works for your schedule. Now, of course, like we can all take breaks. Every writer should take a break when you're burnt out, when you're busy. But it's not about, oh, I'm taking a break. It's if you have a habit in place, you'll return to it when it makes sense for you.
So true.
Yes.
I like us. Like, yeah.
You made us think. We're starting out super deep today.
I was expecting that. Whoa, what did I walk in on?
My brain is growing, yo.
I threw it up in the chat. Well, I'll see. I've never done the Q&A portion or the question of it, so I'll see if it comes through. I put it up as a Q&A, not a poll, but I'll throw it up on socials during our writing sprint when Kauffman is not procrastinating. So, but I'm curious. So, what do you guys think are some of the things that hold writers back from becoming published authors? You think it's just life?
That was the first thing that came in.
You think like doubt is like the number, like you think like mindset is, you know what, like I'm a new writer, my writing sucks, these characters suck. I read this amazing book by George R.R. Martin, it's amazing. I read this amazing book, I can never compete. I should give up now.
Yep.
I think the biggest problem a lot of new writers do that I've seen is it's not really just comparing them to like someone like through a Facebook group that they've never heard of. It's comparing themselves to authors that are well known. It's really not that difficult for an indie game studio like myself, for example. If I really, really pushed myself, I could maybe try to compare myself to Activision or Nintendo. I'm nowhere near that level. It's the same thing with writers. My book, yeah, I think it's actually halfway decent at least. But I'm not going to sit there and compare myself to Rowling or Martin because look what they've done. I can't compete with that, especially on my first book.
I think that's interesting with these very obviously successful mainstream successful authors, right? Rowling, everybody knows Harry Potter, everybody knows Game of Thrones, whether or not they've actually read those. And I'm like, well, why were they successful? Were they successful because their writing is incredible? Possibly. It's sometimes writing is subjective. I think part of the success is the consistency. And then that consistency, the market also chose that those are things that they care about.
Yeah, because I feel like maybe those like writing ruts that every writer gets, they don't come back from that. Because then they're like, oh, well, it's been too long, or this draft is too hard. And then, like Sol was saying, comparing themselves to other authors. And then I think it's just, yeah, they say it's too hard. And then life happens and they fall off of it.
Yeah. And then this is my theory. I have this really strange philosophy. I think that if you can tie yourself into the reason that you love writing, right? You have to tie yourself into the fun. Everybody loves creating the ideas. Everyone is an idea person. If you can tie yourself into that emotional connection and then remind yourself of that, find a way to remind yourself when you don't feel like writing, when you don't feel like being consistent, when you feel like giving up, tie yourself into the fun. I think that's where success can come from. And then that creates consistency.
Yeah, because maybe they're putting too much pressure on themselves. Like instead of just enjoying writing that first draft, they're like, well, the inciting incident needs to be perfect to capture the readers, and or like I need to make this book good to get an agent, and is it right for the market? And it's like, but are you enjoying your story? So it's like they're like 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting because then I get this question from writers a lot of like, okay, so if you're writing a book and you want to be let's say a professional, a paid author who's making a living off of their books. I think that's the way to phrase that. How do you write for a readership or a market if you want to write for fun? I'm like, where's that balance?
Yeah.
Ideally, it would be both.
Right, in a perfect world, right? In a perfect world, I love everything I write. So do my readers. They love everything I put out.
That's when they write in a different genre or age category and have a pen name, because
Yeah, I feel like that's mixing it up. It's interesting because I feel like we do as much as possible to try to get our stories, our books to a certain level. But at the end of the day, it's almost like the readership or the market is going to have their own. They're going to treat it the way they want to treat it. And then you can use the feedback to adjust that, or you can choose not to.
Yeah. True.
Awesome. Well, I have some really good comments here. Let's see. Lucy, glad to have you in the stream. One of our UK friends. I'm glad I got to pop in and say hi. Let's see. Marcella, I found out today that I'm starting college September 12th. Ooh, congrats.
Ooh,
So excited and nervous.
nice.
Congrats. September is next week, which means students are out and about. It's time for college. The college year is approaching, which also means NaNoWriMo is only a few months out.
Yes.
I am so looking forward to that.
Crazy.
I'm still trying to figure out what to do for the community with the community for NaNoWriMo. I can't stop working on Last Scarecrow.
Just do a bunch of writing sprints.
Yeah, I was going to say. That's what people want. They want that accountability when they're trying to write 1667 words. Yeah.
You're like the daily NaNoWriMo grad. But the question is, how do we stand out, right? Because on YouTube, Holly, you would know this. Every single writer is doing writer sprints, right? So it's like I'm sure that'll be the month where other writers will probably go live daily as well for it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how do we stand out? I don't know. I'm still thinking through it. You tell me, audience, what value do you guys want beyond writing sprints? Or do you just want to come try to beat that goal together? Dude, we got a really interesting idea last week, actually. Somebody suggested doing a choose your own adventure for a NaNoWriMo project.
That's fun.
That'd be interesting, right? I was like, doing that might be easier to hit that 50,000 word goal because you're technically just coming up with different branches. I'm intrigued.
You do a choose your own adventure. My God, the word count just shoots up on that.
Yes.
Because you get to choose as many outcomes as you want. I've never written one before though, but I think it's to the gamer in me.
I have written a few that are all technically in the works, and the two most popular that I have, both of them are turning into the first two games for my company. Both of them are actually surprisingly popular through Choice of Games, the hosted games forum, Stone Age Survival, and A Dog's Life. And oh my God, A Dog's Life! It has been my most popular. You actually play as a dog, and you live as a stray or a pet, a pet, a working dog, a rescue dog, or even a therapy dog, and you actually get to experience life as a dog in the city.
This sounds great.
It's kind of like a life sim kind of thing. It's really big though. I really overestimated myself with that, so it failed. But I'm really trying to keep working on it.
Why did it fail? Why do you think it failed?
Because I overstretched myself. I put
too much work.
Yeah, I didn't pace myself right. I mean, I got the demo done. I got most of the demo done.
That's good. That type of game would be very popular, simply because that style of game has worked before. There was like a goat one at one point. There was a cat one at one point. Yeah. People love pretending to be an animal and then having a fun.
That's why I have my game company. My game company is going to specialize in animal protagonist games. Because
all right, so I have a great animal-driven game for you. All right, hear me out. It's called The Last Scarecrow.
Yeah.
I haven't thought that far ahead yet.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
You can do it.
Well, I played Stray.
Get a team together, and hey, maybe I could turn it into a video game for you.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I was like, what medium do I pursue first? The game, the animated series, the script, all the things, right? I'll do it all.
I love it.
Oh, my I can help myself. Let's see. We have some great comments. I keep getting distracted from chat today. Clearly, I'm not distracted today. Let's see. Sorry, pew, pew, pew. I would say Marcella was saying I always say that I'm a writer, but I'm not yet an author. Interesting, because I've thought about that as well. I've always considered myself a writer. I'm like, what distinguishes that authorship? An author is someone who has successfully published at least one book. There we go, the one book, whether traditionally or independently.
Yep.
ML, I was excited to see that I had sold books in the UK, Germany, and Canada. Amazing. Amazing. I think one of the parts of this writing authorship journey is either selling books or knowing that people are either connecting or reading your stuff around the world. I think that's like the crazy part of the story. This is the only time in history where we're able to literally have influence around the entire world. This was not possible 20 years ago. And I think like we can easily take stuff like this for granted, which is incredible. Ooh, Lucy gave us a good Google definition. Okay, what do you think Google tells us about an author? Google says, as a verb, author is simply a more distinguished term for writer, or for writer. A writer can be anyone who writes anything, but an author is a professional writer who has published and sold their work. There you go. So according to Google, it is a professional writer who has published and sold their work. Google, I disagree with you, but it's all right.
I disagree with the selling part.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yes.
And specifically, I think Holly, because of your point you brought up, that's kind of like made me think. I hadn't thought about that before.
Yeah, because that
interesting.
Your question made me question how I define those terms.
Your question made me question your question with another more question.
Your questions are making me question everything. Oh my goodness.
Mary was saying, I always thought an author has something published, an article, story, poem, whatever. Yep. Is the difference writing for money, like professional versus amateur? But I have a fact puzzles book that sells on Amazon that I wouldn't say makes me an author. Interesting, right? So, and this is just a different genre, different type. I feel like it needs to be more you created the whole malarkey, not curated stuff. Yeah. Interesting. ML was saying I was 60 years old when I published my first book. By the way, ML, that's amazing, right? Never too old to do what you want and go pursue something. That's incredible, my friend. I had been writing for close to 15 years before I decided that I could do that. I actually really resonate with that. And I don't know if I've told you guys, I'm sure I've talked about it on the stream. I would say there was a good 20 years where I really considered myself a failure as a writer because I hadn't published a book or I hadn't had a successful television show on screen. So because I hadn't hit either of those mediums, I thought I was a failure. When in reality, after embarking on this portion of my journey, I realized that I was just practicing. And it was less about the logistics and more about the mindset and the way of life. All right, beautiful. I'm gonna play as the Mad Crow. Apparently, so when the last Scarecrow turned into a game, Mad Crow needs to be the main character. It'll be called what was that? The Last Scarecrow, a Mad Crow journey.
That's actually a really catchy title, I have to admit.
I know that would be, wouldn't it? Right now, I only have the Mad Rabbit. Like that was the fan art that I got. It was literally a Mad Rabbit character, and like their definition is really cool. Like I'm telling you, this character design was awesome. I'll talk about it after because as we approach the 30-minute mark, I think this is an excellent time for a writing sprint. So let's hop into a group writing sprint. I was once again definitely not prepared, so. Bear with me. One moment, my friends, while I set up the timer. Exactly. That's exactly what I needed. All right. I have the background, I think, set up. All right. There we go. We got the background. So we're halfway there. Oh, and then the views drop to 0 when Jared starts singing.
Fair.
All right, so let's see. I got the cool background set up. There we go. Perfect. Because who doesn't love a fun background? And now, most importantly, our timer. So, okay. So this is what I'm thinking. I think the past couple writing groups, we've gotten one writing sprint in because we ended up talking more. So I'd say let's try for two. We'll start with a 20-minute sprint and see how it goes. All right, so I got 20 minutes on the clock. Once again, feel free to come join us if you need to get some brainstorming, writing, or editing in. I'm going to throw up some music, and let's do it. Afterwards, we will get into some more writing shenanigans, and we'll talk about what we're working on. All right, beautiful. So I got 20 minutes on the clock, and it is time to write now. All right, writing timer done, writing sprint done. Really, really great work. I feel like we made some absolutely great progress, even if Kauffman forgot to start the timer in the beginning, but we were starting the timer in our minds. So we still made it. 20 minutes, give or take. So thank you for joining us. I hope you got value out of that. If you're here in the live stream, we're going to continue doing some writers chat. We're going to talk about our writing a little bit. And I have another great writer philosophical question for you guys coming soon. But if you're getting value out of the stream, don't forget, follow and subscribe. This channel, the WriteNow community, is for the unpublished authors of the world to help you with writing and finishing your first book through the lifestyle, the process, and the mindset that it takes to be successful. So come join in the journey. If you tap those buttons, you'll be alerted when we go live. All right, beautiful. Now let me bring my friends back up into the chat. And all right, welcome back. How did the writing sprint treat all y'all?
Over 500 words.
Woo! Woo! That's awesome.
Nice.
You're still continuing to surpass me, Chetzel. How many words did I get? 50? I think I got 50. I was getting distracted again. Yeah, it's probably better that I do all my writing on the stream. I feel like I use that for my own accountability. I should probably only write on camera for the foreseeable future.
I got
wrote.
zippity doo dah done.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
What was that? Oh, wait, maybe one of you guys.
Okay.
I was like, it's crazy.
She goes
Wait, what
first.
did you
Oh,
Me?
I don't know.
say? It's like one of those shows. All right, everyone yell at each other at the same time.
I wrote 230 words. So,
Woo! I call that progress.
yes.
Sit.
I got zippity doo dah done. Got too much in my head.
Too many thoughts, too much writing.
Yeah.
You and me both, my friend.
Mhm.
Well, I got, let's say, like I said, I think I got 50, but I got some good development done and some good procrastination. I threw out those questions on these socials. I was really curious what the community thinks. And let's see. So it looks like in some of our writers, Marcella was saying, been brainstorming extensively for the Barbie-like friends. Today, I kind of focus on Tanisha, my doll protagonist's playmate. Focusing on the protagonists are fun. Courtney got 344 words of chapter 17. Great work. Welcome, Steph. Steph is also another editing beast when it comes to her editing and process. Stephanie, how's the writing treating you today? Let's see. Emma got 326 words. Marcella, 278 words. The word count doesn't really matter, though, since I'm just brainstorming. Delving deeper into narrowing down Tanisha's interests. I'm kind of on that same wavelength, that same mindset. With Last Scarecrow, like I said, I've been doing a lot of development, and I have 27 characters for my story. And let's see, so 27 characters, seven major characters. I want to say 6 supporting, and then the rest are minor. So I've been kind of like fleshing out each of them and taking the main ones through like a character profile. I think I have a good like major cast of characters. Like, okay, you guys have to tell me this. Are these like characters? So we have like a scarecrow, a crow, and a pixie. That's like the first crew. Mm-hmm. Then the second crew, after something happens to Crow, which you would only know if you've been listening or you read the book. But in the second half of the book, we have Scarecrow, Pixie, a skunk, and a grizzly bear. It's like
I love that.
I
love the variety. Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Makes for like you can give them different personalities because they're also different.
Yeah, I feel like I've come up with a mix, and I'm trying to like flesh out the rest of the world and make sure that all the characters actually have depth and meaning. So that's what I'm working on. How did the writing sprint treat you guys? Were you guys able to get some stuff accomplished on your end?
Yep.
Yeah, I was working on this one chapter because I had skipped this point of view and went to a different went to the next chapter. So then
Mhm.
I finished that chapter and I was like, okay, let me go to the next chapter. And then I was like, wait a minute, I didn't finish the chapter before this. Like,
So you're kind of just like skipping around,
yeah. Sometimes I
or
get,
forgetting that you're skipping around.
I'm
Hey, at
just
least
like,
you didn't do what I did a couple weeks ago. I literally wrote an entire chapter, and then I'm reading, and it's like, wait a minute. I'm referencing an event that didn't happen. Holy crap! I forgot an entire chapter.
that's why I'm like, I almost like missed this part, and yeah. But I realized it.
Oh man.
Also, your cat's so cute. I forgot you have a black cat too. Aww.
I feel like crazy. I feel like we're left out here with not having any pets on in the crew today.
Yeah, but that's okay. I have my invisible pet,
There you go.
known as a bird. There.
Bird.
There he is.
Yes.
I like that strategy. I have my invisible pet too. They're known as Mad Crow.
Of course, of course.
Oh, yes.
Dark
yes.
parrot. Dark parrot.
Yes, I agree.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
But you know, during the writing sprint though, you brought up a really, really good point that we were chatting about. And I wanted to bring it up because I think a lot of people actually really deal with their mental health as it comes to like getting their book published. And I've actually heard this from so many writers out there that they have a fear of putting their stuff out into the world and like getting it published. And Holly, Soul, maybe you guys can speak to this a little bit since you guys both have published or near published books. Were you afraid that people were going to hate your stuff when you put it out there? Like, was that like a real fear for you guys? Yes, no, maybe so. Maybe like, you know, my stuff's
Honestly, I really wasn't all that concerned for some reason. I'm not even entirely sure why. I mean, it's not like I'm super confident or anything like that. I actually have confidence issues. But no, when I wrote my book and I started actually like, I was shamed in writing it basically. I started reading it and it's like, wait a minute. I really enjoy Bloody Jack, which is one of the inspirations for it.
Okay.
And I've seen a lot of people enjoy that series. Another inspiration is One Piece, and everyone knows how popular that show is. So
Yep.
I really wasn't all that concerned. Excuse my family. But no, I wasn't really all that concerned. I mean, yeah, I have that little twinge of holy crap, my book's never gonna sell, but I am more concerned with simply getting my story out there rather than like selling a bunch of copies.
That's good. That's a great thing to care about, right? Because then it's you're coming from it from I care about people reading the story, but I'm not letting people's opinion affect my self-esteem of it. Which that's hard. That's a hard thing for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think like part of me had not necessarily like the fear of it, just like the people that like my friends and everyone, like I would care if they liked my story.
And so it's more about the ones that you cared about, how they may or may not perceive it.
Because I know not everyone's gonna like my story. My story isn't for everyone, and so like I've gone into it like knowing that, but it's the people that I care about that like I want them to like it.
Yeah, I could totally get that. I know the readership for Last Scarecrow is a more specific fantasy audience. I'm confident I'm going to make those characters so relatable that it's going to be widely liked by everyone. And then if it isn't, it's quite all right because I had way too much fun writing the story. So I think because I come at my aspect of like I enjoy the process, I'm going to write the stories I write regardless. But if people do enjoy it and people do like the story, then I'll take feedback into consideration as I continue to develop it. And I think for me, that's what makes sense. But I don't know if I have the fear of how people will perceive it. It's like I don't know where the fear is, but maybe that's because I push myself to be doing everything on a live experience. So I'm probably a little biased on that front.
And I think like even if you're unsure about your own writing, like getting beta readers and critique partners and enough people to like help you and then say the things that they did like to let you know that like it's not all in your head. It lets you know that like, yes, I'm doing things right, and they're not going to be lying to me because they are truthful about, hey, this, you need to change this, or this is needs to be fleshed out more or something. So then, you can trust them when they are saying the parts that they like and that are strong. So I think that helps.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think for a lot of writers, I think it's understanding what are you afraid of people reading your work. I think a lot of it comes down to like, I'm sharing a vulnerable side of myself, and it's hard for me if people respond to it negatively and I'm being vulnerable and I invested time. If people don't like it, the time I spent now equals 0. And nobody likes to lose time. Nobody also likes to share vulnerability and then not have a type of return. So I think it's just clarifying expectations. And I think, like you said, with alpha and beta readers, I think that helps give writers more like actual evidence outside of yourself on how it's perceived. We could write the best stories ever, but at the end of the day, readers decide how they want to perceive it. They either love it or they hate it. They love parts of it. With the internet, they'll troll parts of it. I think that's just being an author in the 21st century.
And I'm kind of the same way with like, and I believe I said this before in one of the previous chats back when I was in the chat and stuff, is that when I'm typing, I am in that world. I don't really care about how many words I'm getting in a page or whatever. I am sunk into it and everything. But once I publish it and whatnot, it's like, okay, here's my imagination. I want to share with you guys as well. And then I'll wait for a few. And then eventually I'll see like, hey, has anybody read it, or is there any feedback or whatever? And when I get nothing, it's like, and so it's always also that worry of like, did they actually read the entire thing, or did they just read like a page or whatever and just got kind of bored? And I know that some books aren't really everybody's cup of tea, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just saying that it's like, did they not even give it a chance, or did they just get plain old bored with it after one single page or whatever and then just drop it?
Right. And I think putting it out there, not being able to get like the specific feedback factor, I think then that can almost add to like a level of anxiety, right?
Yes.
It's like, I think it's like, okay, if people didn't like it, why didn't they like it? Because if I know why, I can fix the problem, right? I think that's what it comes down to. But I think you also have to accept some people just aren't going to like it. Some people just aren't going to like characters. Some people aren't going to like the story. And I think that's why you try to get it out to. I think that's why alpha and beta readers are a thing. What's interesting is coming back into the writing world, the online writing world this year. I didn't even know what alpha and beta readers were. Like, I didn't even know what that was a thing. I'm like, all right, well, obviously you have to have people read it, and obviously you need an editor. But okay, there's an alpha reader, and then there's a beta reader, and then there's a sensitivity reader, and then there's other types. And there's 3 different types of editing. There's 5 different types of editing. So like, okay, let's say I'm a new writer, and now, okay, how many people should I hire or reach out to? All right, alpha reader, beta reader, sensitivity reader, developmental editor, line editor, copy editor, cover artist, graphic designer, marketer, and I'm like,
format. Oh my god!
Like there's to like, but. And I think there's like, well, there's a lot of facets. I think it comes down to like understanding what is the specific value that you need, and then investing whatever budget you have accordingly. So it's like, there's just so much.
Yeah.
Like,
and not only that, but a single thing is so expensive that you can spend all of your money on one thing and then you can't get anything else.
Yeah. And I'm like, if I'm a writer and I want my book to be awesome, how do I balance paying for a cover designer? The cover sucks, nobody buys the book. As compared to an editor, because if the book sucks, nobody keeps reading, and I don't, and I lose. Yeah, so it's like, it's that weird balance, right? Especially for most writers who probably doing it as a side hobby or as a passion and aren't making money from it yet.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a really good point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know it looks like we have a couple of our other writers weighing in. Courtney is saying, my fear isn't that people won't like it. I know it's not for everyone, but like, I don't know if it blows up. I enjoy my piece too much and I want fans of my books, not fans of me. That's a really interesting
That's
thing.
a good one.
And I think there's a way to navigate that. I think you can be a faceless author, which is why authors use pen names.
Mhm.
But even if you don't put yourself out there, you still have to have a brand. You can have a faceless brand, and it's made easier now through AI to do faceless content. But I think you still do have to have a brand because you have to build up a readership regardless.
Yeah.
I think a lot of professional authors build the brand around themselves as
That's what
the
it seems
author.
like.
But I think I mean, do you guys know authors who build it more around the book series and less around their identity? Are there authors out there who do that?
I don't know.
I feel like I should know, but I can't think of
I
one.
think there probably are.
Maybe
and
like maybe like Sarah J. Maas. Like
maybe
I
a
feel
little
like
bit. Yeah,
you
I
don't
could
know
say that
a
because
lot
she doesn't
about
put
her.
herself
It's
out
all
there as much.
Yeah, I don't know.
But she's produced a lot of consistency, a lot of books with her community. Yeah, interesting. It's just something interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mary was saying it is hard to be an artist. Art is sort of an extension / expression of ourselves. Agreed. That is a great quote, by the way.
Yes.
But we have to separate our ego from the work and understand that critique is our friend.
Mm-hmm.
That is so
actually
incredibly
amazing.
difficult.
Mary, you receive our completely agreed, my friend. And once again, I think it goes back into the ego component, right? A lot of writers put their stuff out to like a reading group, and I saw this a lot in college. Did any of you go to college for writing, for any type of like writing degree?
No.
Have you guys ever taken like a writing class before?
Well, you know my answer, so
Yeah. So
I didn't.
So like at the tail
No.
end of it. So like the reason I ask is because I used to do a lot of writing workshops because I pursued creative writing as a degree. And what I saw is that a lot of writers would put their stuff out there. And when some people responded negatively to it, they're like, I didn't like that character or it sucked, or people just didn't respond. And then sometimes no response is a response. People would you could just tell they would get hurt and upset. And I think it's because the expectation. I think it all comes down to expectation. If you have an expectation and it's not met, you feel a way about it. And I think that's literally all it is. I think you just have to clarify what is the expectation specifically, not from a broad standpoint of like, oh yeah, I'm fine. No, specifically, my expectation is that I want to know, does this character work? Yes or no? Does the plot work? Yes or no? What about like what words don't you like? And I think that's what I try to clarify. And I think that helps, at least for me a little bit, but it's different for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of that's like not tying your self-worth to your story, because then you take it personally. Because there'd be sometimes I'm like, what? Like your least favorite character was the love interest? I love him. But then I like took a step back and I was like, oh wait, like he doesn't have his own person. Every scene is with the main character, and I was like, he isn't his own she's right, and then I didn't take it personally and like I was offended by it. But yeah, it's not kind of tying your like self-esteem or self-worth to your writing, so that when you get that negative feedback, it's it's like, okay, it's to make my story stronger, XYZ.
Through all of my classes, we've been encouraged by my teachers have always encouraged us because we have discussion boards. And so a lot of what we have to do is, I'll look at that later, Jeffrey. And a lot of what we have to do is we have to respond to another classmate, sometimes specific ones, sometimes all of them. And we have to give good feedback. We're told, be objective, like if you have a preference for like a certain student, like who's been in all your classes, if you like their work in one class, you're gonna keep liking their work. I've had classmates like that before that just love my stuff. But we're told, keep it objective, keep it unbiased, and do not be afraid to point out anything wrong as long as we are respectful. And that's kind of what every one of my teachers has been like, and part of that is because, it's school. We're business professionals, basically. All of us are going into the media entertainment business, so we have to keep that view up.
Mhm.
But we're also kind of put into that habit of critique, but don't be mean.
Yeah. That's a
Very
really
true.
great call out. That's really great.
Yep.
I
Part
know,
of that like
Marcel-
beta reader etiquette of like compliment sandwich, don't just throw everything that you hated about this at me. Like, what did you like? Like.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually had one
I agree with
classmate
that.
a few months ago. I had to read one of her assignments because we had to read each other's stories.
Mhm.
That was not her thing. It was really not her thing. And I'm not going to lie, I actually struggled to find something good with it. It was that bad. But I did find something, at least. I was able to squeeze some compliment in there. And I had to admit, she did well on keeping below the word count and everything. And she had a decent character. She just needed a lot of work with it.
So I can totally relate with that, specifically because of the Saturday stream, the critique show. I've now had presented and critiqued well over 150 submissions. Sometimes some of the same stories, sometimes different ones, as you well know. And what I've learned from this live experience, right? Some stories are incredibly well written for where they're at. Some stories have a lot of opportunities. And I think the challenge in the beginning was like, okay, well, if the story's not as good as the others, how do I still be authentic? Like, I'm not going to say the story sucks because no stories suck. But I realized I think I try to come at it from the place of what is the intent of the writer? What is the writer's intent? Is it achieved? Yes or no? And then I just break it down into categories of like, all right, so like the character, if everything sucks about it, then maybe they haven't fleshed out the characters, or maybe they need to improve on word choice. So I think for me, it's kind of like categorizing why things don't work. Help me kind of help other writers share like why, okay, this, I don't think any story sucks. I think that everyone's just at different degrees of success.
Definitely true.
Mhm.
Yep.
Let's see. Marcella brought up a really great point. Marcella was saying, since I like to write from the point of view of very diverse characters, I do fear it will be deemed offensive and problematic and draw a lot of controversy and hate. I think that's a very real concern, right? When we talked upon things that could be, when we touch upon like cultural issues or race issues, especially right now, if anyone writes a story that touches on politics or stories that touch on religion, like there's that very real feel, and especially the internet. Somebody on the internet feels a way, they would be very vocal about it.
Yep.
Trolls and keyboard warriors like to express themselves. Right?
Keyboard warriors. Yep.
I think that's like my new term. I heard it from somewhere, and I'm like, I think they're keyboard warriors. I think
It's
it kind of
so true. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, speak on, keyboard warrior. My ego is affected.
Oh, I love it.
I just think it's kind of funny. I think when I realize what it is, I think it's entertaining. But LeMay said an author who didn't put themselves in the spotlight. Lemony
Snicket.
Oh, yeah.
So I loved
Series
the
of
when I was
Unfortunate
younger, I
Events.
loved the series of Unfortunate Events. I absolutely loved that
Yes.
series.
Yes.
I think the Netflix shows was still pretty interesting. I think it was pretty interesting for the most part, but definitely a well-written young adult children's series. And talk about using like trauma and tragedy for a young adult, for a young children's series.
Yeah,
So I was intended for a young audience, but it was very dark.
Yeah, that surprised me when I first read it because I expected not like something happy-go-lucky, but it went a lot darker than expected, and then I'm just like,
yeah, I think that might have been one of the darkest like young adult ones that I've read.
My type of books.
Have all you guys read Series of Unfortunate Events?
Yes.
I have all the books.
Yeah, in here. It's been a while, but Holly, so it's basically like the premise of it is 3 siblings, their parents die in a fire, and all 13 books is them basically being orphans, being passed off to relatives, and essentially they're being chased by their crazy uncle who wants their fortune. And he's like a very like evil character.
Oh wow.
The Netflix show, it's Neil Patrick Harris. And the movie was Jim Carrey. but he's that very
I
like,
didn't know
kind
there
of
was a Netflix show. Oh wow.
Yeah, I gotta admit the movie itself was not half bad. I kind of hated how they. I mean, I know why, but I kind of hated how they ended it because,
Mhm.
like, you know, there's so much more once you get past that and stuff. But
Mhm.
no, it was pretty good.
Mhm.
And I think it was
Speaking of
Mary Streep who played Josephine,
Yes.
and she really helped that, and she really helped with
she
all
did.
that.
She actually did do it. I think the movie was just received very mixed reviews in
Mhm.
theaters, which is probably why they didn't continue on with it.
Yeah, I could see
A
that.
shame.
But I'm curious, thinking about movies and TV shows, what movies or TV shows, what are there any like well-written ones that come to mind for you guys when you think of, and when I'm focusing more on the writing aspect of like well-written, right? Sometimes well-written, sometimes great scripts are poorly produced, or sometimes it's the wrong actors, sometimes it's politics, but like well-written shows. I when I think about well written, I think one of the strongest seasons. Well, I mean, I think Breaking Bad is generally, I think, just overall well written. But I think one of the strongest well written seasons of a show was probably the first season of Mr. Robot. But the first season as a standalone because of how it serviced the character.
I've never
I wanna
heard
say
of
the
that. Mr. Robot?
Yeah,
It sounds
it's
somewhat
like
familiar.
it's like a dark psychological. It's kind of like a darker psychological um thriller about a hacker who's not sure if what he's doing is true and is basically losing his sanity.
Whoa.
Wow.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it was about, I think it was like 5 to 7 years ago, but it was definitely it was well done.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know what comes to my
Anyone
mind is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
not the movie.
No, that doesn't. No, that does not exist.
We do not
What
speak of such
movie?
things.
But no, the Nickelodeon series, my God, that was just, especially for that age group, it is really, it really has to be one of the best shows out there because of all the lessons it teaches, the whole antagonist to major supporting character. I mean, just Legend of Korra itself is not bad, but The Last Airbender really, really is just the best out there.
Have all of you guys
Mostly
seen
Avatar.
Have all you guys seen Airbender?
Yes.
I
Twice.
pretty much memorized the
So,
entire
this is what I
series
always
and
ask
immersed
myself for
myself
shows
in the
like
lore.
this. Why do we think that the writing was so successful? What about the stories? Like when we think about like, besides the animation was cool, it's very well produced, absolutely. But what about the story do you think was so successful that literally resonated with with a mainstream audience?
Zuko.
So you think of the antagonist? I mean, technically the dad, the antagonist.
It's not just
Zuko's
that
the underdog. He's kind of like the early underdog antagonist, I guess, in a sense.
Well, with me, for myself
redemption.
personally, from what I noticed is it wasn't that he was an antagonist that became a major supporting character, but it was that whole journey he had where he left Iroh and just basically went on a journey of self-discovery. And
it was a very humanized
turning point. I mean, there's a lot of places that was a turning point for him, but I think his biggest is when he found out that he's not only, you know, descended from the previous Fire Lord, he's also descended from the last Avatar. So he's got the blood of basically the best person in the world and one of the worst. So he's literally got his entire genetic history battling on its own, not to mention everything he was raised as, everything he knew, everything was questioned, and he had very little help that he was willing to accept. And how many people really struggle with that in the real world? Way too many. It is so entirely relatable. Yes, I see her.
I think Zuko is absolutely a phenomenal portion of the story. Absolutely. What about you guys? Why do you guys think Avatar was a success?
Yeah, it's kind of going along that, but just like the characters' arcs, like all of them. I mean, they each had their own struggles that they needed to overcome.
Is there of the main protagonists? Is there a weak one? Is there a character that has a weak arc that's not? And I think of all the major characters, Aang is strong. Katara is strong. Sokka is strong.
Mhm.
Zuko is very strong. Even Tosh, who they bring in later
Yeah.
on, is still a very strong character.
I can't think of
Zuko's
one.
sister is a strong character.
Mhm.
I think it just goes to show how important character development is. It
Yeah.
really does. And all of them go through different, almost relatable journeys in their own sense. So maybe that's a reason why.
Yeah.
And they're kind of at the
Mine
age where children's
might be the
or it could be
weakest.
adults.
Yes.
What are you saying, Sol?
Might be the weakest. The girl that Zuko ended up with. And mainly because we didn't see her all that
I could say
often.
that.
And like the
But
one, like
I think the challenge with them is they don't come until late. They don't come until late into the show. There
They
is
don't
like
get our
minor
screen time.
characters, but then their arcs become predominant. I think in the last season or the last 2 seasons.
Mhm.
So I think they just
might
suffer
be.
from lack of development time
Mhm.
than
Yeah.
anything else.
And Ty Lee
Awesome.
wasn't
Well,
bad, just not my
I
issue.
would to the live stream audience, I would love to hear from you guys. Like, what's your favorite piece of film, TV, book? What do you think is just like the most well written? Drop it down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And crazy, like, what do you think? What's something well written media?
Well, first off, with Avatar, it's because it's got the mix of it can be funny, it can be serious, and it can really get into the characters instead of just here you go, enjoy.
Mm,
It really gets into each characters, gets to know them and
mm,
stuff. I absolutely love it.
So maybe it's
As
because we
for
get to explore all the different emotions. So maybe it's that like
Yes.
emotional range, right? So the characters is part of
yes,
it, but then I get to experience happiness, sadness, joy, frustration. And that's actually something that was similar with Game of Thrones as well, because we got to experience all the emotions.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like what LeMay pointed out. Full Metal Alchemist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Full Metal
that was
Alchemist
pretty
is
good.
really great.
Yes.
Full Metal, yeah.
Probably
LeMay, I
for those same
completely agree.
reasons too. The
Full
funny,
Metal
the
Alchemist was
serious.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
Full Metal
characters.
Alchemist was really well, and I think Full Metal Alchemist was well done. Well, not every character in there is strong. I think the two brothers' core journey is so traumatic and relatable, and I think that really speaks to the human level of a sibling type relationship or even a friend relationship. I think that's what makes that show really sing. Or
Yes.
anime, manga, obviously originally a manga, absolutely.
Mhm.
So really great call out. Stephanie was saying, I really like the new Interview with the Vampire TV show. I do as well. I absolutely do as well. But I also like it because it serves that the main two characters as more predominant LGBT characters as the books originally portray them. The original movie with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt was like, it was fun. It was a fun action movie. But I think the show serves the characters better.
Mm.
So it's definitely a fun, if you're wanting vampires, it's a fun vampire show.
Interesting that they like are turning like the movies, like a lot of older movies, like into like series now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I
to actually give it justice. Yeah.
What was that?
We'll finally get more detail.
Yeah, and give it justice. Yeah, do it justice.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because they had with Hollywood doesn't always like Hollywood doesn't like to take risks because it's a lot of money. So they will invest in things that have a pre-built franchise. They know Interview with a Vampire, people showed up to see the movie, so the franchise itself is popular. Plus there's 15 books, there's a bunch of things, so they have more than enough content to draw on. So I think that combination makes it a profitable investment in addition to whoever brought them the script. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hollywood is its own beast. I spent many years trying to understand it.
Oh,
but crazy. I want to hear what do you think is a good piece of media, movie, television? I'm curious.
Boy, there's way too many to think about
like
on that one.
The history of.
I mean, Smallville's one of them. I know it's enough of talking about Smallville, but they had great character stuff on there and whatnot. And there was also, in my opinion, the Underworld movies, vampire movie.
The Underworld movies were actually really good. I remember the first one when it came out. It was really dark, and I think what it did well was it balanced vampire and werewolf mythology in a very dark, surrealist type of way that was fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. That was fun.
Yes. And I think also, I don't know if this might get some heat. Maybe not. Maybe
All
not.
right,
But
give it to us.
I did see Deadpool and Wolverine. Awesome.
I think we can probably all agree that Deadpool and Wolverine was
Yes.
badass.
And it's not.
I think the world agrees that like Deadpool and Wolverine and broke box office records.
Yes,
already.
and it's not just because of the whole cameos and stuff. The story itself was like, where are we going? What's going on? Wow.
The core story serves Deadpool as a character. It serves
Yes.
Wolverine as a character.
Yes.
And it does all the things that Deadpool wants to do in a way that's very funny. That's all Deadpool. I mean, the opening credit and even the soundtrack, like it's a poppy soundtrack, but I don't think anybody was expecting to get a rendition of Backstreet Boys to Deadpool, basically, like a blood splattering, gory scene of
everywhere.
He's playing with Wolverine's skull. Like nobody's expecting that.
Oh, that was
I've
epic.
never seen the credits. I've never seen the credits ever used before in a way that furthers the plot or the action.
Yes,
it was
genius.
They're used as the plot and action, and I was like, wow, that's clever. I've never thought about doing that.
Well, and I love the kind of what is it, like the flash forward? So it's like we're like, how did he get here? What is going on? Then he's like, oh yeah, let me tell you.
Hook.
Yeah, yes.
Such a great hook.
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting because that's really only a hook to the end of Act 1. Usually, and like notoriously, when people start a story off with a hook, it's usually the climax. They're hooking the climax to pull the reader in. That was, I mean, I think it was a great approach because there was way more than enough intrigue and comedy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that's something to think about for screenwriters. Like, you don't always have to use the climax as the hook point.
Yeah.
I think kind of like and I could be very wrong on this one. I usually am. Kind of like the movie Alien, where
I saw the new Alien movie that came out.
I did too. And it was like the very first one. It was like, what is this thing? And you don't really see much of it at all for probably quite a while, and you're like, okay, when's it coming? And it's all quiet and stuff, and then finally things start happening. It's like, oh, okay, this is not what I expected. Let's go.
I think it's subverting expectations, right?
Yes,
so it's putting
exactly.
I think when you can create a story that's well told with characters and themes and all the stuff, but then you can create a plot device that subverts expectations, like truly subverts it, something that the genre hasn't done before. I think that gains appeal, right? That's another reason why Game of Thrones did what it did, was because you're not supposed to kill off major characters. That's what it did, right?
Yeah.
So Alien's a great call out. Alien definitely defined the genre, the horror, that supernatural horror genre when it came out. I agree.
Yes.
And there's a reason there's 10 Alien movies, and I think there's like a TV show coming out. And like,
is there 10? Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Yeah. I think
there's
Harry
just a
Potter
lot
probably
of
did
good
that
media.
as well, a little bit with the young adult genre.
Yes.
I think Harry Potter did a school type arc in a way that hadn't really been done before to that extent. I think so. Yeah. Interesting. Well, so I think, let's see, we got another couple great ones here. Let's see, let's see. Courtney was saying, I really enjoyed Gilmore Girls, and how the different characters connect and handles emotions for TV. Well, my favorite book we talked about last week, I think Rise of the King. Yep, I remember that. Yeah, I've never seen Gilmore Girls, but it is a very popular show, which has already spawned a franchise. So clearly it did something well. Mary was saying Contact was a great movie. It was a great classic. I haven't seen Contact in a while. That's a really good one. Yeah, so we definitely have some good recommendations here. Let's see. So I think now's a perfect time. So we're at about an hour and a half. Do you guys want to do one more writing sprint?
Yeah, sounds good.
Beautiful. Let's do it. So, but here's the intrigue. So stick around till the end, and I'm going to show all y'all our response from our social media audience. What is an author? Because we got a decent little number of responses. So let's see what the world thinks after the writing sprint. All right. Beautiful. So we'll do another 20-minute writing sprint. I will remember to start the timer this time. All right. Let's see. I got 20. All right. Perfect. So we got 20 minutes on the clock. I will mix up the music. And let's see if I can get the time right. It's time to write now.
hero song. Destiny to see. Stand and rise. Face the dark. Light the skies. Leave your mark. Eyes on the prize. Heart beats hard. Dreams to realize.
All right. Writing sprint done. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, let's drop that from this screen. Perfect. How did that writing sprint treat all y'all friends? Progress? Maybe not. I'd probably help if I unmuted you, right? I'm just gonna talk to myself for like 3 minutes.
I'll just like do sign language or we're right in the chat.
All right, well, Kauffman's talking to himself and they're not responding.
Yeah, this
That's what I'm gonna drain this.
241 words.
Oh man.
Yeah, I got
Really,
241. A little bit more than last time, so.
Yeah, I think I got a little bit more as well, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I got like 51.
Nice.
Actually, I don't know. I'm so bad at checking the word count. I think I got 5 more minor characters developed though, so that's
good.
I've gone through all my majors, so I'm just trying to like bullet point the like 16 minor characters who show up in only 1 to 3 scenes. Almost there, but I'm literally the most proud of the magic system though. We came up with this like badass magic system yesterday. I'm like pretty excited about it. Mm-hmm.
That sounds so good.
Mm-hmm.
But I got nearly 600 this time, so.
Woo,
Courtney beat you then.
Yeah, I know. I just saw that.
Yes.
Well,
Wait,
right now though,
Paul.
I'm at that part I mentioned last week where I have the 16-year-old who's basically acting like a 16-year-old, and I'm really trying to figure out exactly how annoyed he is to stay in this position right now.
That's great.
Oh man. Well, it sounds like you're having fun. Crazy. Did you have make any progress on your end?
Still not. Still got too much going on in there. You know.
It's okay. Next week.
Yeah.
Right, next week is the goal. You know, as long as we make some progress, like step by step, right? Because I'm doing a lot more development right now, so I'm all right that I'm not having a high word count.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, Courtney's comment threw me out. What the fuck? I beat Soul with a smut scene.
Yes.
Some great word counts. We got
laugh tonight.
Emma had 228 words. Courtney had 717 words with her smut scene. We're like, clearly,
Yes, we
for the win,
salute
Courtney.
you.
We also hit you. Great work.
Yes.
Finally. I was about 276. I was like,
Nice.
clearly our winners of the day are Courtney and followed by Soul. Chat Soul, you're getting beat by Chat Courtney today.
That's a good one.
Oh man.
Will you sit?
But just because we don't do as many words does not minimize the quality of what we are writing. So you have all beat me exponentially. So it's all good.
No.
Oh, excellent. All right. Well, I feel like we got some really good progress. And as promised, let's see what some of the social media people said. So it looks like I had a couple responses. I've never tried doing it and then posting it as a question during the live stream. So I was curious to see how many responses I would actually get. I did through Threads and Facebook. So we're going to see what we see. So Threads, I posted through author threads. Some of the first questions. So the question was, what do you think makes someone an author specifically? And I was curious to hear. So we had Brilliant Legal Mind was saying the definition means someone who writes anything. I didn't use the word author for myself until I published a book, though. I had written tons of things before that, so I can't claim to have a good reason for that. Writers are anyone who writes anything. An author is someone who has published some of their writings. Or if you write anything, you are a writer. Once you hit that publish button, your work is available to the public. You are an author. Right? So then this was my challenge, right? So if being an author is being a published author, we live in a day and age where publishing something is very subjective. Mm-hmm. So what if I am a writer and I write one page and I go to my website and I publish it to my personal blog? Am I now a published author because I published it myself? So then we're defining technically what does publishing mean, right? So then we start going down that rabbit hole of like, okay, so published author is publishing a book, right? But what if somebody doesn't like to put their stuff out to the world? What if somebody publishes? So then, okay, so publishing then means, oh, you're publishing with a publishing house. No, because we have self-publishing. So, okay, so then you're publishing yourself.
Yeah.
You see, then it starts getting a little murky.
So
as
you
we
can
go
say
down.
you're a published author or an unpublished author. So,
Right, so-
maybe it's
Mhm.
that's what we need to use to
Maybe
define.
it's the distinction, right?
Yes.
Published or unpublished.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yep. Interesting. I got a couple through Facebook here. Let's see, what do I have? I posted in a couple of groups. I got someone who publishes no matter where, right? There you go. I'm like, all right, I want to be a published author. I'm going to go on to Medium and publish an article. Now I'm a published author. Author is an occupation, right? That could be that. It could be an occupation. An author has a product. That's an interesting one. That is intriguing. An author is somebody who has a product. Let's see. Ian said they have to be published and distinctly their work comes from their own original thoughts. This sets them apart from being labeled as a writer. Interesting. And then I had one
can
more.
believe that. After writing so much fan fiction, I can definitely see the difference between, well, a writer who does fan fiction and then an actual author. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're all clear on what a writer is, right? Clearly, you're a writer if you're writing stuff. I think that's clear. But I think being an author, maybe 20 years ago, before the internet, it was clear what an author was. But in the age of the internet, I don't know if it's been defined, because I disagree with Google's definition. So I might challenge that. I'm going to call out Google for having the wrong definition.
I would too.
I know what I'll do. I will create a video or a thread challenging the definition of what it means to be an author, and then ask people to share it so that way I can have Google change the definition.
Yes,
that's how I'll go
that's
viral. I've figured it out.
No reversal.
This is the solution. Let's see. Marcella asked a great question. The next challenge will be figuring out how to squeeze this new info into my next draft without distracting from the MC's plot. It's always the challenge, right? How do we put more in it without pulling away from our main characters? Courtney asked a question. What counts as publish? I hit publish on Wattpad, or is it making money or the ability to make money? So dream. So maybe do you dream about it? Well, I think it sounds like this is an answer that we will not be answering today. It sounds like many people have answers for it.
Yes, I do.
So then I guess who determines the definition of an author? Clearly, the WriteNow community.
Yeah.
All right, that's and that is where we will be leaving off today. I just want to say, I thank you all so much for joining today. Once again, another great episode. I'm glad that we got not episode meeting, but I'm glad that we got more than one writing sprint today. I'm continuing to try to figure out what the right balance is of writing sprints and conversations, because I love chatting with people, but I'm trying to find what's that balance for this type of virtual live writing group. So yeah, thanks for taking time to join me, Alia.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. And if you're here in the live stream audience, thank you for joining us. You guys have been awesome. We appreciate you. All of you were so active. Mary, Courtney, ML, Soul, Chat Soul, of course, threw in the comments. We had Stephanie showed up, LeMay, and Marcella. All of you guys, and Patrick as well. And thank you all. Thank you for joining us. It has been a great show, a great pleasure. And that wraps up our stream for the day. So as we look towards creative writing on the morrow, come join us tomorrow. It will be an early editing session. So 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. As I flesh out the weather. What type of weather happens in a world of Last Scarecrow where it rains fire during winter, where it makes people go crazy when the fog goes out. So we're going to flesh out the weather tomorrow. It will be fun. And if you're looking for something to watch next, check out our previous episodes of the Right Now Writers Group down in the YouTube description below. We have some great episodes, and we're always bringing on different members to our group. Definitely shoot a message if you want to be involved in the group or if you want to come join us on the stream. Clearly, we hate talking with each other. So come join the fun. We'll be back next Wednesday for our 8th meeting of the Right Now Writers Group. And most importantly, if you enjoyed the stream, tap that like button on your way out. Help us show the algorithms what it means to be an author. Or maybe if you just enjoyed the stream, one of the two. And that, my friends, is all that I got for you today. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers.